Admiral Jake Morrison walked into the huge chamber aboard the Galactic Council space station. The massive room stretched out before him like a giant bowl, with seats rising up in circles toward a domed ceiling that showed the stars beyond. 47 different alien species sat in those seats, and most of them were making noise that sounded like they were laughing at him. Jake had spent 3 months traveling to this place. Earth's leaders had sent him here with one simple mission: get humanity accepted as a military partner in the Galactic Council. For 200 years, humans had been junior members of this galaxy-spanning organization. They could trade with other species and send diplomats to meetings, but they had no real power or respect. The noise in the chamber grew louder as Jake reached the center of the room. A 7-foot-tall lizard creature with green scales and yellow eyes stood up from one of the front seats. This was Commander Zektar of the Vorthon Empire, one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. His species had conquered dozens of worlds and commanded fleets of massive warships. Zektar pressed a button on his seat, and suddenly the air above Jake filled with glowing pictures and numbers. The images showed Earth's military ships, weapons, and technology. To Jake, these things looked impressive, but he could tell from the sounds around him that the aliens thought differently. The lizard commander spoke in his own language, and a computer voice translated his words into English. Fellow Council, members observe the primitive nature of human military capabilities. They still use chemical rockets to move their ships through space. Their weapons fire simple metal projectiles instead of energy beams. Their vessels have no energy shields or advanced armor plating. More laughter-like sounds filled the chamber. Jake saw creatures that looked like walking crystals making chiming noises that hurt his ears. Gas clouds in floating containers made sounds like air escaping from balloons. Even the small furry beings that reminded him of cats seemed to be purring in amusement. Zektar continued his presentation. The holographic display showed human ships next to alien vessels, and the difference was shocking. Earth's largest battleship looked like a toy next to the smallest alien cruiser. Human weapons that seemed powerful on Earth barely registered on the alien damage scales. Their largest warship, Zektar said with what Jake assumed was alien amusement, carries fewer weapons than our standard patrol craft. A single squadron of Vorthon destroyers could eliminate their entire space fleet in minutes. Jake felt his face getting hot with anger, but he forced himself to stay calm. He had expected this reaction. Earth's military leaders knew that human technology looked primitive compared to alien standards. That was exactly why they had sent him here to ask for partnership instead of demanding it. The chamber fell quiet as an ancient being rose from the highest seat. This was High Chancellor Morden, whose species had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. The creature looked like a tall, thin human covered in silver skin, but Jake knew it was far older and more powerful than any human alive. Morden spoke in a voice that sounded like wind blowing through metal tubes. Admiral Morrison, your species shows promise in certain areas. Your agricultural techniques have improved food production on 17 worlds. Your manufacturing methods are efficient and cost-effective. However, military partnership requires capabilities that your people simply do not possess. The ancient being gestured toward the holographic display. Warfare in our galaxy demands energy shields, plasma weapons, faster-than-light communication systems, and gravitational manipulation technology. Your species uses chemical explosives, metal projectiles, and radio waves. These tools might have seemed advanced to you, but they are several centuries behind current galactic standards. Jake opened his mouth to argue, but Morden raised one silver hand to stop him. We do not mock your species out of cruelty, Admiral. Every civilization must progress at its own pace. Perhaps in 2 or 3 centuries, when your people develop proper military technology, we might reconsider your application. The chamber erupted in more alien laughter. Jake felt his heart sinking as he realized his mission had failed completely. He had come here hoping to gain respect for humanity, but instead he had only confirmed that other species saw humans as backward children playing with toys. Zektar stood up again, clearly enjoying himself. The Vorthon Empire would be happy to provide protection for human colonies, of course. For a reasonable fee, our patrol fleets could ensure that no hostile forces threaten your worlds. Think of it as a service we provide to developing civilizations. Other alien commanders began making similar offers. They spoke about protecting human trade routes, defending Earth's outer colonies, and maintaining peace in human space. But Jake could hear the real message behind their words. They wanted to control humanity's expansion into the galaxy. High Chancellor Morden raised his hand again, and the chamber fell silent. The Council hereby grants humanity junior member status with all the privileges appropriate for a developing civilization. Admiral Morrison, your people may continue trading with Council members and participating in cultural exchanges. However, military matters will remain the responsibility of more advanced species. Jake felt like he had been punched in the stomach. Junior member status meant that Earth would have no voice in military decisions that affected human colonies. Other species could move their fleets through human space whenever they wanted. Humans would have to ask permission before building new military bases or developing new weapons. As Jake prepared to leave the chamber, he noticed something in the back of his mind. During his long journey to the Council station, he had received several coded messages from Earth. The messages had not contained orders or instructions, just simple confirmations that certain classified projects were proceeding as planned. Jake had not been told what those projects involved, but now he found himself hoping they were important. As he walked out of the chamber while aliens continued making their laughing sounds, he thought about a conversation he had with Admiral Stevens before leaving Earth. Sometimes, Stevens had said, the best way to surprise your enemy is to let them underestimate you. Outside the chamber, Jake activated his communication device and sent a simple message back to Earth. Mission failed. Recommendation rejected. Proceeding to secondary objectives. He did not know that his message would reach Captain Lisa Hayes aboard a ship that did not officially exist. He did not know that she and her crew had been watching the entire proceeding from a hidden position in the asteroid belt around this system. And he definitely did not know that the aliens who had just laughed at humanity were about to discover that humans had been keeping secrets. Captain Lisa Hayes stood on the bridge of the USS Shadow and watched the message from Admiral Morrison appear on her screen. The words were simple, but she knew what they meant. Earth's diplomatic mission had failed exactly as everyone had expected. Now it was time for humanity to show the galaxy what they could really do. Lisa looked around at her crew of 30 specialists. These men and women had trained for years in complete secrecy. Most people on Earth did not even know their ship existed. The official record showed Lisa as commanding a small research vessel studying asteroids beyond Mars. In reality, she commanded the most advanced warship humanity had ever built. The USS Shadow did not look like other human ships. Instead of the blocky industrial design that aliens had mocked at the council meeting, the Shadow was sleek and angular. Its hull was covered in a special material that bent light around it in strange ways. When the stealth systems were active, the ship became completely invisible to every known type of sensor. Dr. Andrew Kim, the ship's science officer, walked over to Lisa's command chair. He was a thin man with black hair and thick glasses, but his mind contained more knowledge about alien technology than anyone else in human space. For 5 years, he had studied every piece of alien equipment that Earth's traders had managed to acquire. "Captain," Andrew said quietly, "I've been monitoring alien communication networks since the council meeting ended. The Vorthan Empire is planning something big." Lisa turned her chair to face him. "Show me." Andrew activated a holographic display that filled the air between them. The image showed the local region of space, with Earth at the center and various alien territories marked in different colors. Red dots indicated Vorthan military bases, and Lisa could see that several of them were much closer to Earth than they should be. "Commander Zektar has requested permission to conduct training exercises near our outer colonies," Andrew explained. "He claims his ships need to practice long-range patrol missions. But look at the number of vessels he wants to bring." The display changed to show a list of Vorthan ships. Lisa felt her blood run cold as she read the numbers. 12 heavy cruisers, 30 destroyers, and 1 massive dreadnought called the Conquest of Stars. This was not a training fleet. It was an invasion force. Lieutenant Commander Ben Taylor joined them at the display. He was Lisa's tactical officer, a tall man with blonde hair and sharp blue eyes. Ben had spent 10 years studying alien military tactics, looking for weaknesses that human forces might exploit. He understood better than anyone how dangerous the Vorthan fleet could be. "They're planning to intimidate our colonists into surrendering without a fight," Ben said. "Standard Vorthan strategy. They show up with overwhelming force and demand submission. Most species just give up when they see ships that big." Lisa nodded. She had expected something like this to happen after the council meeting. The aliens had made it clear that they saw humanity as weak and primitive. Now they wanted to prove their point by taking control of human colonies. "How long do we have?" she asked. Andrew checked his calculations. "The Vorthan fleet will reach Proxima Centauri in 6 days. That's our newest colony, with about 50,000 civilians. They have no military protection except a few patrol boats." Lisa felt anger building in her chest. Those 50,000 people had left Earth to build new lives among the stars. They were farmers, engineers, teachers, and doctors who wanted to help humanity expand into the galaxy. They did not deserve to become pawns in an alien power game. She activated the ship's communication system and called her senior officers to the bridge. Within minutes, all department heads had assembled around the holographic display. These people represented the best of human military science, and they had all volunteered for a mission that might never be officially acknowledged. "The Vorthans are moving against Proxima Centauri," Lisa announced. "Our orders are to demonstrate that humanity is not as helpless as the aliens believe. We will intercept their fleet and show them what human engineering can accomplish." Chief Engineer Matt Johnson raised his hand. He was a stocky man with graying hair who had helped design the Shadow's revolutionary propulsion system. "Captain, are we cleared to reveal our full capabilities?" Lisa smiled grimly. Admiral Morrison's message included authorization code Omega-7. That means no restrictions. We are free to use every system on this ship. The officers exchanged glances. They all knew what Omega-7 meant. For years, they had conducted training exercises with artificial limitations, pretending that their ship was less capable than it really was. Even Earth's military leaders had not known the Shadow's true potential until recently. Dr. Kim activated another display showing the ship's technical specifications. The numbers would have seemed impossible to most people, even other humans. The Shadow's stealth system did not just make it invisible to sensors. It actually moved the ship slightly out of normal space-time. Enemy scanners could not detect something that was not completely in their reality. The weapon systems were equally revolutionary. Instead of the energy beams that aliens preferred, human engineers had perfected kinetic weapons that fired solid projectiles at incredible speeds. The Shadow's main guns could accelerate a tungsten rod to 15% of light speed. At that velocity, no known armor or shielding could stop it. Ben Taylor began outlining possible attack strategies. The Vorthans rely heavily on energy shields designed to stop plasma and laser weapons. Their sensors are calibrated to detect energy signatures and gravitational distortions. They have never faced an enemy that uses purely kinetic weapons delivered by a ship they cannot see. Lisa studied the tactical information for several minutes. The Vorthan fleet was powerful enough to destroy Earth's entire space navy, but it had weaknesses that only humans had learned to exploit. Alien species had become comfortable with their technological superiority, and they had stopped innovating their defensive systems. "We'll position ourselves in the middle of their formation," Lisa decided. "Let them get close to Proxima Centauri so they feel confident. Then we'll demonstrate that their shields and sensors are useless against human ingenuity." The crew began preparing for combat. Engineers checked the stealth systems and weapons arrays. Navigation officers plotted intercept courses. Communication specialists prepared to record everything for later analysis by Earth's military leaders. As the USS Shadow began moving toward Proxima Centauri, Lisa thought about the aliens who had laughed at Admiral Morrison. They believed that chemical rockets and metal projectiles were primitive weapons used by a backward species. Soon they would learn that human primitiveness was actually human cleverness in disguise. The Vorthans wanted to intimidate humanity into submission, but they had made a critical mistake. They had assumed that the ships and weapons displayed at the council meeting represented humanity's best efforts. They had no idea that humans had been building secret weapons for 20 years, preparing for exactly this kind of confrontation. In 3 days, the USS Shadow would reach Proxima Centauri ahead of the Vorthon fleet. Lisa and her crew would hide in plain sight, waiting for the perfect moment to show the galaxy that humanity was much more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The USS Shadow arrived in the Proxima Centauri system 2 days before the Vorthon fleet was expected. Captain Lisa Hayes positioned her invisible ship in the outer asteroid belt, where her crew could watch the human colony on the planet below and monitor space traffic in all directions. Proxima Centauri B was humanity's newest world, a rocky planet with breathable air and enough water to support large cities. 50,000 humans had made this place their home over the past 10 years. They had built farms in the valleys, mines in the mountains, and a small spaceport near the main settlement of New Hope. Lisa watched the colonists through her ship's advanced sensors. They were living normal lives, completely unaware that a massive alien fleet was coming to threaten them. Children played in schoolyards while their parents worked in factories and offices. It reminded Lisa why she had volunteered for this dangerous mission. "Contact on long-range sensors," announced Lieutenant Susan Clark from the navigation station. Multiple large vessels approaching from the direction of Vorthon space. Lisa felt her heart rate increase. After months of preparation and training, the moment had finally arrived. "How many ships, Susan?" 43 vessels total, Captain. The configuration matches our intelligence reports exactly. 12 heavy cruisers, 30 destroyers, and 1 dreadnought. Dr. Andrew Kim activated the main display screen, and suddenly the bridge filled with images of the approaching Vorthon fleet. Lisa had seen pictures of alien warships before, but seeing them in real life was different. Each cruiser was over a kilometer long, bristling with weapon ports and covered in thick armor plating. The destroyers were smaller, but still 3 times larger than Earth's biggest battleship. The flagship made Lisa catch her breath. The Conquest of Stars stretched 2 kilometers from bow to stern, a massive wedge-shaped vessel that looked like it could ram through a moon. Weapon turrets covered its hull like metal scales, and its forward sections glowed with the energy of massive shield generators. "My God," whispered Ben Taylor from the tactical station. "That thing could destroy our entire home fleet by itself." Lisa nodded grimly. The flagship alone carried more firepower than all of Earth's military bases combined. If humanity had tried to fight this fleet using conventional tactics, the battle would have lasted about 5 minutes. "Captain," Andrew reported, "the Vorthons are broadcasting on open channels. Commander Zektar is speaking directly to the colonists." Lisa activated the communication system. Immediately, the bridge filled with the translator's mechanical voice, repeating Zektar's words in English. "Humans of Proxima Centauri, I am Commander Zektar of the Vorthon Imperial Navy. Your species has been granted junior member status in the Galactic Council, which means your military activities must be supervised by more advanced civilizations. Effective immediately, all mining operations on this world will be conducted under Vorthon oversight. All defensive installations will be dismantled. Any resistance will be met with appropriate force." Lisa watched her crew's faces as they listened to the alien commander's arrogant demands. These people had trained for years to defend human colonies, and now they were seeing exactly why their mission was so important. On the planet below, the colonists were responding exactly as Zektar had expected. Emergency broadcasts filled the communication channels as families prepared to evacuate their homes. The small colonial defense force, consisting of 6 patrol boats and 2 converted cargo haulers, began powering up their engines in what looked like a desperate attempt to escape. "The Vorthons are enjoying this," Ben observed. "Look how slowly they're approaching. They want the colonists to have time to panic." Lisa studied the enemy formation through her tactical display. The Vorthon ships were moving in a classic intimidation pattern, with the massive flagship at the center and smaller vessels spread out in a threatening arc. They were broadcasting sensor sweeps in all directions, but their equipment was designed to detect energy signatures and gravitational distortions. The USS Shadow registered on none of their sensors. Lisa's ship was positioned directly between 2 Vorthon cruisers, less than 50 kilometers from the enemy flagship, and the aliens had no idea she was there. "Andrew, are you recording everything?" Lisa asked. "Yes, Captain. Full sensor logs, communication intercepts, and tactical analysis. Earth Command will have complete documentation of Vorthon military capabilities and behavior patterns." Lisa activated the ship's weapon systems. Deep in the Shadow's hull, magnetic coils began, charging with enough energy to accelerate a tungsten projectile to unimaginable speeds. The targeting computer locked onto the flagship's command tower, where Zektar was probably standing at this very moment, celebrating his easy victory over the primitive humans. "Ben, I want a clean shot through their command section. Maximum, kinetic impact, but avoid their main reactor. I want survivors who can report what happened." Ben's fingers moved across his control panel with practiced precision. "Target acquired, Captain. Tungsten penetrator rod, 15% light speed. Impact calculated for maximum structural damage with minimal radiation release." Lisa looked around at her crew one more time. These 30 people represented humanity's best hope for survival in a hostile galaxy. In a few seconds, they would announce to every alien species that humans were not the helpless primitives they appeared to be. "Fire," Lisa commanded. The USS Shadow's main gun fired without sound or visible energy discharge. The tungsten rod, no bigger than a telephone pole, streaked across space faster than alien sensors could track. It covered the 50 kilometers to the flagship in less than a second. The projectile hit the Conquest of Stars command tower, traveling at 45,000 kilometers per second. At that speed, the tungsten rod carried more kinetic energy than most alien antimatter warheads. It passed through the flagship's energy shields as if they were made of paper, because those shields were designed to stop plasma bolts and laser beams, not solid matter moving at relativistic speeds. The impact was spectacular. The command tower simply disintegrated, vaporized by the incredible heat generated when the tungsten rod transferred its kinetic energy to the ship's hull. Secondary explosions rippled through the flagship's upper sections as power conduits overloaded and ammunition magazines detonated. On the Vorthon communication channels, Lisa could hear panicked voices speaking in their alien language. The translators were having trouble keeping up with the rapid, frightened chatter, but she caught words like impossible, no energy signature, and unknown weapon type. Commander Zektar's voice had gone silent. Lisa's targeting computer confirmed that the flagship's command section had been completely destroyed. The arrogant alien commander who had demanded humanity's surrender was now scattered atoms floating in space. The remaining Vorthon ships began emergency maneuvers, trying to identify the source of the attack. Their sensors swept the area frantically, but they found nothing. The USS Shadow remained perfectly invisible, hidden in its quantum phase state where alien technology could not reach. "2 more targets, Captain," Ben reported. "The lead cruisers are trying to establish command authority. Should I remove them?" Lisa nodded. "Make it clean, command sections only. I want their crews to survive long enough to spread the story." 2 more tungsten rods streaked across space at impossible speeds. The lead Vorthon cruisers suffered the same fate as their flagship, their command towers vaporizing under kinetic impacts that no alien shield could stop. Within minutes, the most powerful fleet in Vorthon space had been reduced to a collection of damaged ships with no central command. The surviving vessels began retreating as fast as their engines could carry them. They broadcast emergency messages to their homeworlds, describing an attack by invisible enemies using weapons that defied all known physics. As they fled toward Vorthon space, Lisa knew that word of this battle would spread throughout the galaxy within days. On Proxima Centauri below, the human colonists were celebrating. Their enemy had been defeated by mysterious protectors who struck from nowhere and vanished without trace. The children who had been hiding in bunkers were now playing in the streets again, and their parents were sending grateful messages to whoever had saved them. Lisa smiled as she watched the planet's lights twinkling in the darkness. The aliens had expected to find frightened primitives ready to surrender at the first sign of superior force. Instead, they had discovered that humanity had teeth, and those teeth were much sharper than anyone had imagined. The news of the Proxima Centauri incident spread through the galaxy like fire in dry grass. Within 3 days, every major alien civilization had received reports of the impossible attack on the Vorthan fleet. The details varied depending on who was telling the story, but certain facts remained consistent. An invisible enemy had destroyed 3 major warships using weapons that passed through energy shields like they did not exist. High Chancellor Mordun called an emergency session of the Galactic Council. The ancient being had ruled the galaxy for over 1,000 years, and he had never encountered anything like this before. The great chamber that had recently echoed with alien laughter at humanity's expense now filled with worried whispers and fearful chittering. Admiral Jake Morrison received his invitation to attend the emergency session with mixed feelings. 3 weeks ago, these same aliens had rejected his request for military partnership and treated him like a representative of backward children. Now they wanted his help understanding what had happened to the Vorthan fleet. Jake arrived at the space station to find the docking bays filled with warships from dozens of species. The crystalline ethereals had brought their diamond-hulled cruisers. The gaseous nebuloids floated in armored spheres bristling with energy weapons. Even the peaceful traders of the Zephyrian Collective had come with escort fleets, something they had not done in centuries. The council chamber buzzed with nervous energy as Jake took his seat. He noticed that his position had changed. Instead of the back row reserved for junior members, he now sat in the front section with full military partners. Nobody had officially changed humanity's status, but everyone seemed to understand that something fundamental had shifted. Commander Zektar was not there to present his case. According to the reports, he had died when the mysterious weapon destroyed his flagship's command tower. His replacement, Admiral Theknon, stood before the assembly with visible signs of fear in his reptilian features. Fellow council members, Theknon began, the Vorthan Empire has suffered losses that should have been impossible. Our most advanced fleet encountered an enemy that our sensors could not detect using weapons that our shields could not stop. 3 of our finest warships were destroyed in minutes by an opponent we never saw. The holographic display showed footage from the surviving Vorthan vessels. Jake watched the recordings with careful attention, making sure his face showed nothing but professional interest. He saw the massive conquest of stars suddenly explode in a burst of light as something tore through its command section. He watched 2 heavy cruisers suffer similar fates moments later. Dr. Veltar of the Ethereal Collective rose from her crystal throne. Her species communicated through harmonic vibrations that hurt human ears, but the translators converted her words into understandable speech. The weapon signatures make no scientific sense. Our analysis shows pure kinetic impact at velocities approaching light speed, but there are no energy discharges or propulsion traces. Whatever fired these projectiles left no detectable evidence. Jake knew exactly what had happened, but he maintained his diplomatic poker face. The USS Shadow's kinetic weapons were designed specifically to leave no energy signatures that alien sensors could track. Human engineers had studied alien detection methods for decades and built weapons that exploited every gap in their coverage. Admiral Korex of the Nebuloid Defense Force drifted forward in his containment suit. My species has also encountered this invisible enemy. 5 days ago, our patrol fleet was escorting human merchant vessels through our territory when 3 of our ships were attacked. The same pattern. Precise strikes against command sections. No visible attackers. No energy. Traces. More reports followed. The Insectoid Hive Collective had lost 2 cruisers while conducting inspections of human cargo ships. The Aquatic Deep World Federation reported similar attacks against vessels that had been threatening human research stations. In every case, the pattern was identical. Invisible enemies using impossible weapons to defend human interests. Jake felt a cold satisfaction as he listened to the reports. The USS Shadow and her crew were doing exactly what they had been trained to do. Captain Hayes was systematically demonstrating that humanity could strike back against any species that threatened human colonies or trade routes. High Chancellor Mordun rose from his throne, and the chamber fell silent. The ancient being's silver skin seemed to glow with inner light as he addressed the assembly. The evidence suggests a coordinated campaign by unknown forces. These attacks are too precise and too well-timed to be random piracy. Someone is deliberately targeting our military vessels. The Chancellor turned his glowing eyes toward Jake. Admiral Morrison, Your species seems to be the only one benefiting from these mysterious protectors. Do you have any information that might help us understand what is happening? Jake stood up slowly, feeling the attention of 47 alien species focused on him. This was the moment he had been preparing for during his long journey back from the first council meeting. Earth's leaders had given him very specific instructions about how to handle this question. "Honored Chancellor," Jake said with perfect diplomatic calm, "humanity appreciates the Council's concern for our welfare. However, we are as puzzled by these events as everyone else. Our military capabilities are exactly as primitive as this. Council determined 3 weeks ago. We still use chemical rockets and ballistic weapons. We have no stealth technology advanced enough to hide ships from your sensors." Jake gestured toward the holographic displays showing the attack footage. "These weapons appear to use some form of relativistic kinetic energy that our scientists do not understand. The targeting precision suggests computer systems far more advanced than anything Earth has developed. Perhaps the Council should consider that other unknown species might be active in this region of the galaxy." The suggestion sent ripples of concern through the assembled aliens. The idea that some previously unknown civilization might possess superior military technology was almost as frightening as the attacks themselves. Dr. Kim's voice echoed in Jake's memory from their briefing sessions. The beauty of kinetic weapons is their simplicity. Aliens expect sophisticated energy signatures and exotic particle emissions. They never look for something as basic as a very fast rock. Admiral Theknon stepped forward, his scaled face showing barely controlled anger. "The timing cannot be coincidental. These attacks began immediately after your diplomatic mission to this council. Someone is clearly acting to protect human interests and punish those who oppose them." Jake spread his hands in a gesture of innocent confusion. "Admiral, if humanity possessed such advanced military capabilities, why would we have requested partnership status from this council? Surely we would have simply taken what we wanted through force." The logic was unassailable, and Jake could see it working on the alien mindset. Species that had achieved interstellar travel through superior technology could not imagine deliberately appearing weaker than they really were. The concept of strategic deception was foreign to civilizations that had dominated the galaxy through obvious displays of power. High Chancellor Morden studied Jake for several long seconds. The ancient being's expression was unreadable, but Jake sensed that he was not entirely convinced by the human's denials. However, without proof of human involvement, the Chancellor could not make direct accusations. "The Council will establish a joint task force to investigate these incidents," Morden announced. "All member species will contribute ships and personnel to patrol trade routes and protect civilian vessels from unknown attackers." Jake nodded politely. "Humanity would be honored to contribute to this effort. Our patrol boats may be primitive, but our crews are experienced in asteroid belt navigation and deep space reconnaissance." As the council session ended, Jake noticed something important. Nobody was laughing at humanity anymore. The alien representatives who had mocked Earth's military 3 weeks ago now watched him with careful respect, tinged with fear. They still did not believe that humans were responsible for the attacks, but they had begun to understand that humanity was under the protection of someone very dangerous. Walking back to his transport, Jake activated his secure communication device and sent a brief message to Earth. Council extremely concerned about ghost ship incidents. Requesting human assistance with joint patrols. Recommend continued operations at current level. He knew that Captain Hayes would receive his message within hours. The USS Shadow would continue her invisible war against alien aggression, and the galaxy would slowly learn that humanity was not as helpless as it appeared to be. 6 months after the first attack at Proxima Centauri, the political landscape of the galaxy had changed completely. Species that once viewed humanity as primitive farmers and miners now sent diplomatic envoys to Earth with offers of trade agreements, mutual defense pacts, and technology-sharing arrangements. The mysterious ghost ship attacks had convinced everyone that humans possessed military capabilities far beyond what anyone had imagined. Captain Lisa Hayes brought the USS Shadow home to Earth for the first time since her mission began. The sleek stealth ship descended through the atmosphere toward a hidden base built inside a hollowed-out asteroid beyond Mars. Only a few hundred people in the entire human government knew that this facility existed. Lisa's crew had fought 53 separate engagements during their 6-month deployment, and they had never lost a battle or suffered a single casualty. They had disabled alien military vessels, protected human cargo ships, and demonstrated that Earth would not tolerate threats against its colonies. Most importantly, they had done all of this while remaining completely invisible to enemy sensors. Admiral Stevens was waiting in the docking bay when Lisa's ship landed. The old man had gray hair and tired eyes, but he smiled broadly as he watched the Shadow's crew disembark. These 30 people had single-handedly shifted the balance of galactic power, and they deserved recognition that they would probably never receive publicly. "Captain Hayes," Stevens said as Lisa approached, "welcome home. Your mission exceeded all expectations." Lisa saluted crisply. "Thank you, sir." The ship performed flawlessly, and the crew executed every operation with precision. "We are ready for immediate redeployment if needed." Stevens shook his head. "You and your people have done enough for now. Earth's diplomatic situation has improved dramatically thanks to your efforts. Admiral Morrison is about to return to the Galactic Council with a very different reception than he received 6 months ago." The briefing room filled with Earth's top military leaders as Lisa presented her mission report. The holographic displays showed detailed recordings of every engagement, complete tactical analyses of alien military capabilities, and intelligence data gathered from intercepted communications. The information would give human forces enormous advantages in any future conflicts. Dr. Andrew Kim presented his scientific findings to a room full of impressed engineers and weapons designers. The Shadow's stealth technology had proven even more effective than anyone had hoped. By shifting partially out of normal space-time, the ship had become truly invisible to conventional detection methods while retaining the ability to interact with normal matter through its weapons systems. "The aliens still do not understand how our stealth system works," Andrew explained. "They assume we are using some form of advanced energy field manipulation, so they keep upgrading their sensors to detect energy signatures. They have no idea that our approach is based on dimensional phase shifting rather than electromagnetic camouflage." Meanwhile, Admiral Morrison prepared for his return to the Galactic Council. The diplomatic situation had evolved dramatically since his first humiliating rejection. 3 major alien civilizations had already offered humanity full military partnership status. Others were competing to provide the most favorable trade agreements and territorial concessions. The council chamber looked very different when Morrison arrived for his second presentation. The same aliens who had laughed at him 6 months earlier now listened with respectful attention as he outlined humanity's terms for galactic cooperation. The laughter had been replaced by nervous silence and careful diplomatic language. "Hi," Chancellor Morden addressed Morrison with obvious respect. "Admiral, the Council has reconsidered humanity's application for military partnership. Given recent developments in galactic security, we believe that human participation in our defense efforts would be valuable." Morrison nodded politely. "The United Earth government appreciates the Council's interest. However, our requirements have evolved since our last meeting. We will need full partnership status, territorial autonomy for all human colonies, and equal voting rights on all military matters affecting our region of space." The terms were no longer requests. They were demands backed by demonstrated capability. Every alien representative in the chamber understood that humanity now negotiated from a position of strength, even though nobody could prove exactly where. That strength came from Admiral Theknon of the Vorthan Empire rose from his seat. The replacement for the dead Zektar had learned painful lessons about underestimating human capabilities. The Vorthan Empire objects to these excessive demands. Humanity has shown no evidence of possessing the military technology necessary to enforce such terms. Morrison smiled coldly. "Admiral, your predecessor made similar statements before his unfortunate encounter with unknown hostile forces near Proxima Centauri. Perhaps the Vorthan Empire would prefer to test humanity's defensive capabilities through direct military action." The threat hung in the air like poison gas. Theknon's scaled face showed fear as he remembered the fate of the conquest of stars and its crew. The ghost ship attacks had targeted Vorthan forces more than any other species, and the message was clear. Those who threatened humanity would face consequences. The Vorthon Empire does not seek conflict with humanity, Teknon said quickly. We are willing to discuss reasonable arrangements for mutual cooperation. Other species quickly followed the Vorthon lead. The crystalline ethereals offered to share advanced sensor technology. The gaseous nebuloids proposed joint research projects. Even the proud insectoid hive collective suggested cultural exchange programs and military cooperation agreements. Morrison accepted some offers and rejected others, always maintaining the appearance of a diplomat representing a species with significant but mysterious military capabilities. The aliens still did not believe that humans were directly responsible for the ghost ship attacks, but they had concluded that humanity was under the protection of someone very dangerous. The climax came when Admiral Teknon, desperate to restore Vorthon honor after months of humiliation, formally challenged humanity to single combat. The challenge was an ancient galactic tradition where disputed territorial claims could be resolved through military demonstration rather than full-scale war. Morrison accepted immediately. The United Earth government agrees to resolve this matter through military demonstration. The engagement will take place in neutral space with observers from all major galactic powers present to witness the outcome. 2 weeks later, the most powerful fleet ever assembled gathered in an empty star system near the galactic core. Representatives from 47 species brought their finest warships to observe what everyone expected to be humanity's destruction. Admiral Teknon commanded over 200 Vorthon vessels, including 3 massive dreadnoughts that dwarfed anything Earth had ever built. The human force appeared to consist of empty space. Morrison's diplomatic transport was the only visible human vessel in the system, and it withdrew to a safe distance before the demonstration began. Alien observers searched their sensors frantically, but detected no human military presence whatsoever. Teknon broadcast his challenge to the apparently empty battlefield. Humans, show yourselves and face the might of the Vorthon Empire. Your mysterious protectors cannot hide forever. The response came not from communication channels, but from the sudden appearance of the USS Shadow directly in the center of the Vorthon formation. The sleek stealth ship materialized like a ghost, becoming solid, dropping out of its quantum phase state to become visible for the first time in its operational history. The alien observers gasped in shock as they saw the elegant vessel that had terrorized their fleets for 6 months. The Shadow looked nothing like traditional human designs, with its angular hull and advanced propulsion systems that bent space around them in ways that seemed to violate physics. Captain Hayes broadcast a simple message to the assembled fleet. This is Captain Lisa Hayes of the United Earth ship Shadow. Admiral Teknon, you challenged humanity to demonstrate our military capabilities. Your demonstration begins now. The battle that followed lasted exactly 47 seconds. The Shadow's kinetic weapons systematically disabled every Vorthon ship in the formation, targeting engines, weapons, and command systems with surgical precision. Not a single alien crew member was killed, but the entire Vorthon fleet was left floating helplessly in space, completely defenseless against an enemy they had never been able to see coming. When the weapons fire stopped, Admiral Teknon broadcast his surrender to the entire galaxy. The Vorthon Empire yields to humanity. We acknowledge human military superiority and request mercy for our surviving crews. Morrison's voice filled the communication channels as he responded from his diplomatic transport. The United Earth government accepts Vorthon's surrender. All surviving vessels will be permitted to return to their home worlds with a message. Humanity stands ready to defend its interests and those of its allies. As the alien observers watched in stunned silence, the USS Shadow faded from view once again, disappearing into its quantum stealth state as if it had never existed. The demonstration was over, but its impact would reshape galactic politics for generations to come.